Hey everyone, welcome to another video, and tonight I'm bringing you my December wrap-up. So in the month of December, I read 20 books, which for 6,904 pages, which I got to read a lot because I had 2 vacations. I went to Disney World, and because I went with little kids, we actually had a lot of downtime, not at the parks, so I read a lot during those times. Plus just on the plane, and then I went back to California to visit my family, and so like on the plane ride there, I read an entire book in one sitting, because I had a layover and all that stuff, so I finished the book before I even landed back in California. So I got to read a lot. I read 1 nonfiction book, 4 dark/mafia romances, 3 contemporary romances, 1 historical fiction, 7 historical romances, and 4 fantasy romance. They're all one series, which you'll know right away which series I'm talking about. I read so many historical romances because of the Historical Romance Readathon that is hosted by Jess from Peace Love Books, Lacey from Lacey Book Lovers, and Lisa from Remarkably Lisa. I'll tag all their videos down below, or all their channels down below. So if you don't follow them, go check them out. They're amazing. But let's just get into it. I started the month off reading A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I gave this book 4.5 stars. If you don't already know what that series is, then where have you been living? For the past, I don't even know, this series has been out forever. But like I said, if you watched my previous video, I just recently got back into reading again. So I'm way behind on the times. But basically, A Court of Thorns and Roses follows a girl named Feyre, who is kind of in charge of helping her family get food and stay fed throughout the winter especially, and she ends up hunting something that she shouldn't have and has to go and live in the fairylands, and all sorts of crazy things happen from that. But I gave the first one 4.5 stars, and then immediately following that I read A Court of Mist and Fury, and I gave that one 5 stars. That was tied for my favorite book of the month. That was a continuation of what had happened at the end of A Court of Thorns and Roses, and you get a lot more from other perspectives. You learn a lot about other characters that were villainous in the first book and are no longer villainous in the second book, and that was just, it was a great book. I absolutely loved it. It was my favorite book in the series until the book that I read this year, which I'll talk about in my January wrap-up. But then after that, I read Lady Sophia's Christmas Wish. This was the group book for the Historical Romance Readathon, and it was okay. Forced proximity. They took care of a baby. I don't remember much about the characters or anything. It was okay. I gave it 3.5 stars. Then I read the Regal of Roth for the Historical Romance Readathon for the Marriage in Trouble prompt, because I don't normally read a lot of Marriage in Trouble books, and this was one that was recommended, and I really loved it. Basically, the main girl, I'm terrible with character names unless I write them down, and I did not write them down. So the heroine, she got married to this man, and then he kind of left her with his family and went off to be wild and left her with his family, and there's all sorts of rumors about him going around, and she's like, no, I want to be married. I want my marriage. So she goes back and fights for her marriage, and yeah, it's great times. And then I read The Virgin and the Rogue by Sophie Jordan. This book was really cute. Again, I don't remember character names, but this was 4 stars, and basically this man is kind of doesn't know what to do with his life. Doesn't have a good relationship with his dad. His mom is no longer alive, so he goes to visit his stepbrother, and his stepbrother has a wife, and she has 2 sisters that live with her, and he ends up falling for one of the sisters who was previously engaged to someone else, and she takes a tonic and thinks that the tonic is part of why she basically is like in heat. So the beginning was a little weird, because of that. But then it got a lot better, and their romance, I did really enjoy it. So I ended up with giving it a 4 stars. And then I read The Rogue of Fifth Avenue by Joanna Shoup. This book was amazing. It's an American historical, so it takes place in America. And again, I've said this, and I'll probably say it 50 times. I am terrible with character names. So this year I have actually been writing down my character names so that I don't forget. The heroine, she is kind of like a Robin Hood. She steals from the rich to give to the poor. And our hero, he was previously poor and has kind of lied about who he was, and it has become this high-powered lawyer. And he's her father's lawyer and has gotten her out of a few sticky situations. And her father she's promised to another man because she promised her dad that she would marry this other man for an advantageous marriage, as long as her sisters got to marry whoever they wanted. No questions asked. So that was the agreement, but she ends up backing out of that because she falls in love with the hero. Then I went back into the Avatar series, and I read A Quarter of Wings and Ruin. I gave this book 5 stars. This basically is a continuation after the second book. Can't give too much away without giving spoilers. And then I went into the novella, A Quarter of Frost and Starlight. It was okay. I mean, I could see how people would be really mad about it if they read it and didn't realize that there was going to be another book after, because it's basically just an extended epilogue and setting up for the next book in the series. So I could see why that would bother a lot of people if they were really invested when the series first came out. But it was good. I gave it 4 stars. Then I read my other favorite book of the month, which I actually have here, which is The Governess Game by Tessa Dare. This is Alexandra. She's a timekeeper, and she goes and changes the clocks to match the Greenwich time. For all these people, she goes and changes their clocks every 2 weeks. And she goes to Chase's house, and he thinks that she's applying to be a governess because he has 2 children that he takes care of. And so there's that little bit of miscommunication, but things get resolved. And he offers her the job of the governess because she puts him in his place, because he is very much a rake and a wild man, a wild duke. And she puts him in his place and says, no, sir. And is like, well, I'm not even going to change your clocks, because that's what she had gone there for. And so she leaves, and something happens, and she ends up without a job. She loses what she really needs to continue her job. So she goes back to him and says, okay, I'll be your governess. The found family aspect of this was so great, because obviously the girls aren't his. He's just their ward. And they were so amazing. And she knew that she couldn't fight the girls, and she was like, all right, I just gotta play it cool, take my time. And she ended up winning all of their hearts. And this book was amazing. I gave it 5 stars. And then I read A Betting Woman by Jenny L. Walsh. I got this book in a Once Upon a Book Club box, and it's a historical fiction, and I was bored. It doesn't mean it's not a good book. Someone could really love it. It was not the book for me. I don't have a problem. I love historical fiction. I read a lot of them. But this one was just not the book for me. So 2.5 stars. And very much, I couldn't tell you what it's about, other than this girl goes to the gold rush and is a card dealer. The gifts that were given in this Once Upon a Book Club box were top notch, but the book, not so much. Then after that, I just read a short little novella called All I Want Is a Kiss by Willow Winters. It was cute. It was fine. 4 stars. Like I said, it's a short little novella. Friends to lovers. That's about it. Then I read what was probably my most surprising book of the month, In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. I heard that this was like a holiday Groundhog Day, and I had gotten it at Half Price Books. My mom has it. I left it with her in California because I figured it would be a book that she would really like. So it was really cute. I read it all on the plane on the way back to California. And it basically is a holiday Groundhog Day. It was super cute. There were a lot of funny Christopher Walken jokes, which I think those are hilarious. I ended up buying my brother a Walken on Sunshine shirt with his face on it for Christmas. But yeah, I gave it 4.5 stars. And then after that, I read Mr. Masters by T.L. Swan. I had heard a lot about this because it's an age gap. And so there was like comparisons to Birthday Girl, which if in a future video you will learn was one of my favorite books of 2021. So I read Mr. Masters and it was okay. I did really like it, but it was only 4 stars. It was a little darker than I was expecting, but I still liked it. She's his nanny and they end up having a dirty, kinky time. And by dirty, I mean dirty in a good way. He's kind of a dom without being a dom. Like, he has like moments where he wants to be, but he doesn't, and you never really get to see that in the book. I think if they would have made it like a dom sub relationship, it would have been a little bit better. But it was good. 4 stars. And then I read Hooked by Emily McIntyre, and I loved this. It was a dark Peter Pan reimagining. I wouldn't say it was a Peter Pan retelling, but it was a reimagining, and Hook gets Wendy, and Wendy's actually Peter's daughter in the book, and she kind of learns that her father isn't who she thought he was, and her brother isn't who she thought he was. And it's so good. She ends up falling for Hook, and it's dark. It's a very dark book, so check triggers for it for sure. But I really enjoyed it, 4.5 stars. And then I went on a Sophie Lark Brutal Birthright series binge, and I finished the last 3 books that I'd read, starting with Bloody Heart, which was Dante's book, and it's a second chance romance, Secret Baby. So I gave it 4 stars. Probably my least favorite in the series, just because of the tropes that were in the book. I don't necessarily like Secret Baby or second chance romances, but I mean, Sophie Lark can do no wrong. So I still gave it 4 stars. And then I read Broken Vow, which is a lot of people's favorite book. I know it's Jen from the Book Refuge. She absolutely loves this book. It's Raylan and Riona. Raylan is a sexy, sexy cowboy. There's a scene in a barn. Riona is a buttoned up Irish mafia princess. She's the lawyer for them, so I guess she's not really the princess because that would be her little sister. She never thought she would be worthy of love. She actually gave her, not worthy, she just never thought she'd fall in love. She actually gave her grandmother's ring to her sister, thinking she would never need it. And when her sister was a previous book. But she gave her ring to her, saying, I'm never going to need this. And so it was, Raylan and Riona were fantastic. My second favorite book in the series, for sure. And then I read Heavy Crown, which is Sebastian and Yelena. Her book, this one is a lot darker than all the other ones. It had me crying at like 2 a.m., just sobbing over it because, oh my gosh, what happens in it, especially if you read all the books in the series, which I do suggest doing, there's a lot of characters that you start to get to know and love, and a lot of stuff happens to them. And you're just, and Sebastian had a lot happen to him in the first book of the Brutal Birthright series. And just to see his change throughout all the stories, it was amazing. And his book was just gut-wrenching. And it sets up for the first book in the Kingmaker series, which is The Heir. So I'm really excited to get to that series in 2022. And then I listened to Yearbook by Seth Rogen. It was a fun, cute memoir. I gave it 4.5 stars. By cute, it was funny. Seth Rogen, he's hilarious. He talks about different movies that he was in and that he's done, different things he's done. I had no idea that Superbad is actually based off of his life. The characters in Superbad are his best friends. Like, they are people that he went to high school with. So, it was very interesting. I had no idea, which I guess I should have, seeing as Jonah Hill's character is called Seth in the movie. But I had no idea. It was a good book. Definitely worth it if you find Seth Rogen funny. So, I gave that one 4.5 stars. I also realized that I missed talking about this back. Read this during the Historical Romance Readathon. This is Wallflower Christmas by Lisa Kleypas. I got the great step back. This one was a novella. I mean, it was fine. It was 4 stars. I loved getting to see the wallflowers again. Rafe Bowman was a little pervy and creepy, and I didn't love that. But it was good. I mean, I gave it 4 stars. And then the last book I read was Mine Till Midnight by Lisa Kleypas. I have the step back version with the amazing gold foiling. So like the original printing. Just absolutely love this. It's like perfect. I got it at Half Price Books, and it's like in perfect condition. And I've read this. This was a reread for me, and I actually enjoyed it more the second time around. This is Cam and Amelia. You meet Cam in the Devil in Winter book, and the Hathaways end up living next door to the Marstons. So the couple, Lillian and Marcus from It Happened One Autumn. So you end up seeing a lot of characters from Wallflowers. I really loved their story. I know that it is problematic because they do use the G word and other terms that should no longer be used. I know Lisa Kleypas has been changing some of those, but I still really loved this book, and I'm super excited to read the second one. I actually have a book club that I read it with on Instagram. So if you want to read the Hathaway series, we're starting Seduce Me at Sunrise next week. So you can send me a DM on Instagram. I'm at BookBarr, and I'll add you to the group. But I've really been loving Lisa Kleypas' books. I mean, I don't think any of them have gotten lower than 4 stars. And I'm honestly more excited for the second story in this than I was for this one. And this one got 5 stars for me. So super cute. Amelia is the oldest girl from the Hathaway family. There's 4 girls and 1 boy. Her brother is actually the oldest, and he just became titled and the Lord, and so they inherited this house. And her brother Leo has had all sorts of problems, and like there's a ghost aspect of this. Like this book was wild. There was a lot happening. But Amelia kind of takes over for her family and like wants to help them all, but they're just so many bad things happen to them. And then Cam has a good luck curse where he doesn't want money, but he keeps getting more and more money. No matter what he does to try to get rid of it, he ends up with more, and he decides to fall in love with Amelia. So she's like, oh, your good luck curse is probably going to be broken because my family has bad luck. But it's super cute. Definitely don't read it if you don't like outdated terms, because this definitely has some. It has a few consent issues, as do most historicals. Not condoning it at all, but I suspend my disbelief from them enough that it doesn't bother me. It bothers me, but it doesn't affect my rating of the book. So this one got 5 stars. And that was all that I read in the month of December. What did you read last month? Let me know. Also, if you don't mind hitting the like and subscribe button, that would be fantastic. And I will see you all next time. Bye.